So I originally wasn't going to do a review for the movie Eddington, but this one definitely deserved a standalone review. I can't even exactly remember the last time I felt this manipulated and disrespected as an audience member in a movie theater. Probably Civil War, but that's a story for another time. I will be talking heavy spoilers in this review, so if you want my final verdict spoiler free, skip to this time in the video. I guess I'll start by saying that this movie is a little bit too soon. It takes place during COVID and the summer of love that we all remember, and those themes are heavily present in this movie. The movie basically starts on the day that George Floyd died. George Floyd is only like 5 years sober at this point, and we're only really 3 years out from COVID. And my general rule is that you have to wait at least 10 years until after the time period to make a movie about it. 20 years is more preferable because that's when it basically gets considered history. The thing is that this movie starts off really good. The entire first half of the movie is excellent, despite its inability to stay on track at times and to properly pace the character's development, especially Pedro Pascal's character, who disappears for like 30 minutes at a time. It's a very honest and extremely accurate analysis of our absurd political society in America these days, because on one hand you have the left, who are a bunch of loons who will advocate for the dismantling of the society that built Western civilization and maintains it to this day. The Black Lives Matter riots are a perfect example of that, and again, those themes are heavily present in this movie. Then on the other hand, you have the right, who are seemingly just a bunch of schmucks who have no sense of integrity or organization. January 6th is a perfect example of this, and it just feels like your average right-wing politician's political career is just a giant humiliation ritual, and it's only a matter of time before they get caught up in another cheating scandal. And I was just genuinely shocked that they chose to approach this story from a more conservative perspective, especially considering that it's an A24 movie, but well, it's an A24 movie, and they ruined that real quick. The original premise of the movie is that you have this incumbent mayor, Ted Garcia, played by someone who we apparently can't get enough of these days. Garcia, who's likely a Democrat. Well, more than likely, he's definitely a Democrat, they just won't say it. He's coming down hard on the town of Eddington with this mask mandate to the point where he forces businesses to require their customers to wear masks at all times. Then you have our main protagonist, Joe Cross, played by Joaquin Phoenix, who's the sheriff of Sevilla County and effectively the police of Eddington, as it's presumably an unincorporated community. And he sees how this mask mandate is affecting the community when a man who literally can't breathe with a mask on is barred from entering a grocery store. He tells the manager of the grocery store that this man is either going to go in the store with a mask on and suffocate, or he's going to not go in the store and starve. So basically just don't worry about it, just let him in without a mask. And as these sorts of events continue, he decides that he's going to run for mayor of Eddington to stand up for the people. It's kind of like The Campaign, but it actually takes itself seriously, and I was all here for it. And for the first hour and 45 minutes of this very long movie, it's just very entertaining to see these two characters on their campaign trail just duking it out with one another. But then we get to the midpoint of this movie where everything just flies off the rails. Joe finds this homeless guy who broke into a bar and is just drinking all the liquor. And for some reason that they don't ever really explain, he just shoots the homeless guy like 3 times and then covers up his murder. And I'm just sitting in the theater like, okay, I guess it'll all make sense in the end. I'll just keep watching and see what happens. Nope, then he decides to take a sniper position and assassinates his opponent in this mayoral race along with his son, who's in high school, and he covers that up too. Not only does he cover up their murders, but he frames one of his very own deputies, who is his right-hand man for the entire first half of the movie. And presumably he does this because he's black, and that would make more sense or something. And just when I thought this movie couldn't get any more chaotic and maddening, Joe is running around the town trying to get control of this conspiracy before he gets caught. And out of nowhere, an incursion begins on the town of Eddington, apparently by a group of Antifa members. It's never explained. Joe gets stabbed in the skull and is basically put in a vegetative state, needing a caretaker for the rest of his life, presumably, but he somehow still gets elected mayor. Who fucking cares anymore? You guys totally abandoned your original premise. The movie ends with absolutely no closure on what just unfolded, no explanation for how any of it unfolded, and not a single shred of justification for why any of it unfolded. We never even got to see who stabbed him. The show that I went to go see this movie at had a very expressive crowd, and you could audibly hear people's disappointment for where this movie was going. It started out with a very charismatic Joaquin Phoenix, and then he just turned into a straight up unlikable psychopath. And the cherry on top is the humiliation ritual at the end of this movie. Towards the beginning of the movie, Joe was kind of beta, but it was very subtle and was at least bearable, and I didn't hate it. It was actually entertaining. But by the end of the movie, we have to see Joe lie in the same bed as his mother-in-law while she sleeps with his caretaker. We also get to see his naked body get dragged onto a toilet seat, and we just get a nice eyeful of Joaquin Phoenix's dick. Thank you so much, Ari Aster. I really needed more of that in my life. And again, you could audibly hear the crowd's discomfort in my theater. But anyways, it's just like, audiences want consistency with their characters, and this is a prime example of inconsistency. Seriously, like, what kind of fucking character arc is that? Where our protagonist just murders the antagonist in cold blood. Like, at the very beginning of the movie, Joe could hardly even wrestle this crack-faced homeless dude to the ground. But then, in the second half of the movie, he's suddenly able to cover up 3 spontaneous murders. I don't know about that. The stupid part too is that Ted Garcia's murder accomplishes absolutely nothing meaningful in this movie because the implication of this Antifa attack negates Joe's attempts to get away with his crime. It's kind of like a kid trying to steal a candy bar before Hiroshima. Does it really fucking matter considering how the story ends? In my heart, I just feel like the writers knew what story they wanted to tell, and when they were halfway done writing it, and it was too late to change any of it, A24 realized how it sounded and were like, no, you need to take a more left-wing perspective, even if it means assassinating your entire protagonist's character. But then my mind tells me that the second half of this movie is the story that they wanted to tell. The first half is just context to make for a more powerful underlying message, I guess. And ultimately, it doesn't just make for inconsistent characters, it makes for inconsistent storytelling overall. I swear to God, if I hear someone say, oh my God, I love the twists and turns in this movie, I'm genuinely gonna lose it. I'm sorry, but a protagonist randomly murdering a homeless guy only for it to go completely unaddressed for the rest of the movie is not a plot twist. It's a plot hole, and the entire plot of this movie is basically what a surgical mask is to COVID-19, riddled with holes. How is it inconsistent, you might ask? Well, like I said, the first half of this movie acknowledges political stereotypes that are based in reality, no matter which angle you look at it from. Yes, the movie is accurate in its portrayal of the left losing their minds because we've seen it. We aren't blind. And yes, the movie is accurate in its portrayal of right-wing politicians making dumb decisions because we've seen it in real life. We aren't fucking blind. But really? A right-wing politician murdering a Hispanic left-wing politician and then framing a black man for it? Please show me any precedent for something like this in the last 50 years. Please. Are you starting to see why I called this movie a bit manipulative in the beginning of this video? Even professional critics don't even know what to think about this movie. Ari Aster is now one of those directors that I'm gonna remember by name moving forward. I thought Hereditary was actually really scary, but I thought it had a dumbass plot line, and I never saw Midsommar, but I heard that it was pretty much the same deal where the story was shit, but it was really well made, and this movie just seems like another revolution in the cycle. For my final verdict, I'll be ruling against this movie at 27%. It's just, when I started this channel, I had no idea all the different sorts of ways that I could possibly be disappointed by movies, but it feels like every single week I'm saying that I'm beyond disappointed by a movie, but this one really hits hard. I went to a 9:15 showing of this movie, which actually means 9:45 according to Regal, and I was just really tired from a long week of work. I was just sort of ready to get this movie out of the way and just go home and rest, but To my surprise, the story was exceeding my expectations, but then we hit the midpoint of the movie and I just got cucked. I got blueballed. I literally felt like Jordan Belfort. Okay. Can't fucking say that. And especially considering that I got out of the theater after midnight because this movie is 2.5 fucking hours long, I would highly recommend you spend your valuable time elsewhere. Anyways, that's all my misery for today. If you enjoyed my review, please consider dropping a like. We have Fantastic Four coming out in a few days, which is going to be the last big superhero movie this year, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you don't miss my thoughts on that movie. But that's all for this case. This court is adjourned.